I think anybody that's ever tried to write a longish essay will be familiar with what I'm about to describe right now, and that's the way that it occupies your mind. If when you've written an essay, what will happen to you is that you'll later start thinking, "Oh, I could have phrased that a bit differently. There's some facts that I could have included. Maybe there's some problem with my reasoning somewhere, that kind of thing." Your mind just starts to go on that thing, right? You can't really get away from it. Not if you're really by nature a writer. You get started doing that, and your brain just won't stop until it's reached something like perfection, according to yourself, right? And right now, what I'm doing is I'm writing an essay on cultural Marxism, and there's at least 4 things that I think need to be included in it. And I'm just doing this right now. I'm just saying this so that I don't forget, and maybe I'll post this. I don't know. But cultural Marxism is essentially, well, it's essentially an attempt to just demolish Western civilization, is what it is, right? And it holds certain presumptions, and one of the main ones that I want to be sure that I include in my essay is the assumption that white people, and in particular straight cisgendered straight males represent like a unique form of evil. That's so if you say that to somebody, they might go, "Oh, oof, really?" But then you can start dragging up examples of how that's actually the case. It's the case with the residential schools, the way that that's spoken about. They don't ever talk about anything, regarding the nuns that really devoted their lives to that, or this the students that went there and said that they had a wonderful time. The whole gist of the thing, the whole thrust, is to assume that the Western powers came in and did really nothing but evil, right? And it works 2 ways. So white people can do nothing. White straights, just, the whole blurb, can't do anything good, and the other parties can't do anything evil, which, is blatantly false, blatantly ridiculous. So I want to work that into my essay. Another thing that I want to work into it is, hey, hey, ho, ho, Western Civ has got to go incident that happened at Stanford, I think, in California, where the students gathered together and there was a Western civilization course at one time. You had to take it or you wouldn't be considered an educated person. You couldn't graduate from university without studying Western civilization. There's, of course, absolutely nothing like that. You can't graduate from university now without studying a lot of material that says that Western civilization is oppressive and demonic, or however you'd want to put it. So that's just a total flip. And I just want to include in my essay that I want to allude to the fact that it's what we're in right now is a postmodernist world, and postmodernists, they take the view that white people are uniquely evil. And what was I getting? Oh yeah, and the other thing is that they're not really concerned about the truth. In fact, they don't necessarily even believe in the truth. So the result of that is, like, the Kamloops hoax is a good example of both things coming together at the same time. So they came up with this story without determining whether or not it was true. And it was quite blatantly obvious from very early on that it wasn't true. All you had to do was look at it. You had to look at whether or not there was a septic system, in the area where the graves were supposedly found. You could look at whether or not there was any reports of missing kids. There's a few different ways that you could have looked at it if they'd just done their jobs. Journalists and educators and politicians had just done their jobs and tried to determine the truth before they started flapping their gums about it, right? And what they did was they traumatized a lot of people. There's one teacher in the film, Making a Killing, where he talks about the kids being seriously traumatized by these stories. And they actually had some of them, like, walking around with they'd dunk their hands in red paint and then stick it on their face, and a lot of kids were traumatized by it, right? And the teacher came forward and said, well, no, nobody was murdered there. Maybe once, it was open for a long time. There's a lot of students, and maybe there was a murder, but it wasn't a commonplace thing, not by any means. And he just reassured the students that don't worry, the kids did die, but it was most often from tuberculosis during that time period. And he was fired for that. And he was fired for creating an unsafe situation for students. So these are little kids, right? They're traumatized by this thing. He reassures them, no, this didn't happen. And he got fired for it, for creating an unsafe environment for them. There's just the absurdities pile up with this sort of thing. So there's 3 or 4 things that I wanted to get in there. No, maybe that's it. Sorry, I can't turn this thing off.